Hi guys, here's another episode of the Miss Myers Show. Today we're going to go and talk about the whole life and career of Huey Long. I have here my beautiful co-host, Miss Vivian Lee, and that's about it. Alright, so let's get started. Huey Long was probably one of our most colorful governors that we've ever had, except for Earl Long, his brother, who we'll talk about a little bit later. What was so interesting about Huey Long is because he was so really liked by the majority of people in Louisiana. And I believe, along with a lot of other people, that if Huey Long was not assassinated, he would have run for president and might have even won. So we're going to talk about all of that in today's show. Now, Huey Long was born near Winfield Parish, and he came from a really wealthy family, but Huey Long's voters were poor people of Louisiana. So these people really resonated, with him because he kind of lied. Huey Long went around telling people he grew up in this poor house, in this poor family, in little bitty house, when that was totally not true. His family had a lot of money. His kids went to college. His dad could afford to send his kids to college, even though Huey Long never even graduated from high school. So he went around telling people that he was, grew up in this poor house and poor community, when in all actuality, he was actually very rich. Like I said, he never graduated from high school, and he never even, never went to college. He took a couple of classes at Tulane and at the University of Oklahoma, but he never finished. What I find fascinating was that even though he did not graduate from high school and did not graduate from college, he still took the bar exam for Louisiana, to become a lawyer. So even though he didn't have a college diploma or a high school diploma or a college degree, he still took the bar exam and still became a lawyer in Louisiana. Don't ask me how. Okay? He became a lawyer at the age of 21, and he basically had a plan. Huey Long was a man with a plan. His main
I'm the man, I'm the man, I'm the man. Yes I am, yes I am, yes I am. I'm the man, I'm the man, I'm the man.
He had his whole life set out before him. He knew what he was going to do at every single point. He was going to first become a lawyer. Second, he was going to make a name for himself in some kind of state-run position. He worked with the Railroad Commission, and that was his state position. He wanted to make a name of himself. From there, he was going to become governor. And from governor, he was going to become senator. And after he was senator, he was going to become president. And that looked like the path that he was going to take. But he was assassinated, which ended stuff. Now, Huey Long, his first attempt at governor was in 1928, and he lost that. But he was the first governor. He was elected shortly after that as governor of Louisiana. Now, Huey Long became, very different type of governor that Louisiana was used to. For the first time in Louisiana history, we have a governor who is not controlled by the upper class of Louisiana. Huey Long was all about the poor guy. He was very, very eloquent. He was a great speaker. He was an awesome orator. He got the crowds behind him. And he really, in a lot of his speeches, he would say he doesn't think that it's fair that the majority of people in Louisiana are extremely poor while you have this really little pocket of rich people that had all the money. He didn't agree with that.
According to the tables which we have assembled, it is our estimate that 4% of the American people own 85% of the wealth of America, and that over 70% of the people of America don't own enough to pay the debts that they owe? How many men ever went to a barbecue and would let one man take off the table what's intended for 9/10 of the people to eat? The only way you'll ever be able to feed the balance of the people is to make that man come back and bring back some of that grub he ain't got no business with.
And during this time, you know, in Louisiana, the majority of people were poor. So here comes this guy saying, hey, I want to work for you. I want to help you be a better person. I want you to have more money. I want you to, you know, be more prosperous. The majority of people in Louisiana were all about Huey Long. And you either loved or you hated Huey Long. There was no in between. You either were a great fan of him and thought he was the most wonderful thing Louisiana had ever seen, or you thought he was a crook and a criminal. Well, Huey Long was really, he was both. He was, you know, really, people loved him. He would help everybody out. He would give, he had great ideas for Louisiana. He wanted to, you know, correct problems. He wanted to build roads. He wanted to give everybody, you know, better schools, textbooks, more textbooks for the students, hospitals. He wanted to do all kinds of things to help Louisiana. But what is the thing? What do you need to do? When you're thinking of getting all of these things, from getting roads and books and hospitals and, you know, all of this, you need to pay for it. So even though Huey Long did all these wonderful things for Louisiana, he really pushed us severely into debt, okay? Now, Long in education. One of the things that he did was give free textbooks to students. Now, in Louisiana at this time, you had to provide your own textbooks. Parents had to pay for them for their students. Not like, you know, you guys, when you started coming to LAVCA, your books were sent to you. We sent you all this stuff. You have this book. We sent it to you. Well, in the 1920s in Louisiana, your parents had to buy them. The majority of people in Louisiana, they were poor. So if you couldn't afford to buy textbooks for your kids, and your kids just didn't go to school. Well, Huey Long didn't like that idea. Huey Long thought that everybody should, you know, have the opportunity to go to school. Everyone should have the opportunity to better themselves. So he wanted to provide all students in schools with free textbooks. Now, like I said, that was a great idea. That was a great idea. But there was a problem. You know, some people said that it was really expensive. How were they going to do that? This was a time of segregation in the South, and some people said we don't want to provide free textbooks to, you know, African American students or to Catholic students. And Huey Long said, "Nuh-uh, everybody gets it. I want everybody to have a textbook. I want everybody to have that opportunity." And he did. Okay. He increased spending on public education. He started night schools. Created night schools for people that wanted to learn how to read. You know, adults and farmers. Because, like I said, the majority of people in Louisiana at this time were poor farmers. They didn't go to school. They didn't learn how to read. They didn't know your basic skills. So Huey Long set up schools for that. He also created a medical school in New Orleans to get people to come to our state to go to medical school. So he was all about helping improve our state and helping the plight of the poor guy, the everyman. One of my favorite movies of all time, because of, you know, Vivian Leigh, the original Vivian Leigh is in it, is Streetcar Named Desire, and it takes place in New Orleans. And Stanley, who is the character, the guy in it, he tells his, no, I think he tells Blanche, who is, or maybe it's Stella, but he tells one of them, I can't think right now, that you remember what Huey Long said, that every man's a king, and I'm the king of my household.
Remember what Huey Long said, that every man's a king, and I'm the king around here. And don't you forget it.
Well, Huey Long said that. He said that every man is a king, that every man in Louisiana should have an opportunity to be successful, not just your little pocket of rich people. Okay? Huey Long was also the first governor to increase the budget for LSU. Huey Long loved LSU. His brother Earl Long loved UNO, which is where I went. So go Privateers. Alright, Huey Long, he gave money to hire more faculty members at LSU. He wanted to improve the campus. He built a swimming pool. He gave money to the band, to the football team. He was all, you know, interested in making this a really big school. Wanted to expand Charity Hospital. He provided unemployed people in Louisiana with a regular paycheck. He revamped our state capitol, and even today, it still remains the tallest state capitol in the United States. He changed the governor's mansion. He built all these new roads. He did all of these things. He created the homestead exemption, and you know, what the homestead exemption is that he wanted to help the middle class by making it so that they didn't have to pay property taxes on their entire value of the home, only a partial value, and that's something we still have even to this day. So Huey Long, like I said, really was out to help the middle class. But the problem is that with all of this stuff that he's putting into place, it needs to be funded, it needs to be paid for. And a lot of these things that Huey Long did, he did without thinking, how am I going to pay for this? And what it did was really push Louisiana into serious debt. One thing that set Huey Long apart from the other senators was that he did not resort to attacking African Americans to win support. A lot of people after Civil War and after Reconstruction in Louisiana, especially our governors, these were redeemers. They wanted to redeem the South, make the South rise again. And we're all about, you know, kind of attacking the African American population in Louisiana. Huey Long was not like that. Huey Long basically wanted to help everybody. He didn't care if you were black, white, yellow, purple, green, orange, or blue.
Red, yellow, green, red, blue, 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 red, purple, green, yellow, orange, red, 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 yellow, green, red, blue, 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 red, purple, green, yellow, orange, red, red.
If you were a person in Louisiana, you needed assistance, he was going to help you. The Ku Klux Klan did not like Huey Long. They did not like him because of this. They didn't like that he was willing to help everybody out. They were totally against him for that. The Ku Klux Klan were against Huey Long. They, you know, they helped fund other candidates who were running against Huey Long to try and get him not to be our governor and things like that. One of the myths that Huey Long about him is that he did all of this without raising taxes, and that is so not true. Huey Long imposed 35 new taxes, including a state income tax, while he was governor of Louisiana. He also passed a 5-cent per gallon tax on gasoline. He placed taxes on cigarettes and soft drinks and all of these things. So it did increase our taxes in our state to pay for some of the stuff, but it still wasn't enough. We still were plunged really, really deeply into debt. Now, Huey Long, when you think of him, one of the things you always think about is corruption. You know, he was very, very corrupt. His group of guys were known as the Longs. That's what they were called. And they were his supporters. And they basically ran the state. Huey Long bribed a lot of people to do what he wanted, you know, to pass laws that he wanted in Congress. He would, you know, just fill up their pockets and they would do whatever they want. The people who were for Huey Long were called the Longs, and the people who were against Huey Long were called the anti-Longs. He gave, you know, kickbacks to people, like I said, give them money, you know, like if I said, okay, I pretend I'm Huey Long, and I want, you know, the governor of, or the parish president of St. Bernard to employ my friends to build some new roads. I would give them money. I'd give the parish president money or a kickback to do this, to do what I wanted. So Huey Long, at one point, had every employee, Huey Long, thank you. at one point had every state employee sign a letter of resignation before he was even hired. And a letter of resignation basically says, I quit. So that if this person were to do something that Huey Long didn't like, he would say, oh, I already have their letter of resignation, and they would just be fired. So he was really corrupt. He truly was. Oh. You're so cute. You're so cute. You're so cute. Okay, so what we're going to talk about, we're going to finish this one right now. What we're going to talk about next time, because he goes on, is the impeachment of Huey Long and FDR, and the assassination of Huey Long. So see you guys next time. Bye.